Hi there, I'm Bevan Thompson and welcome to the Wellbeing Whizz Omnicast. What is an Omnicast? Well, an Omnicast is a video podcast. It's also an audio podcast. It's also a blog on my website. It's many, many things. It's more than just a podcast, basically. And I'm the Wellbeing Whiz. I'm an anxiety coach who helps people manage their anxiety and start to live a better life. Now, what qualifies me for this, you're asking? Well, I used to suffer very badly from anxiety myself around maybe 10 years ago. I had all the symptoms you could think of, the sort of sweaty palms, the dizzy head, the random thoughts, racing thoughts. It turned to depression. It was essentially a living nightmare. And I spent a long time with doctors going through things like hypnotherapy. I tried tablets. I tried a lot of the different solutions. And I found the only thing that helped me was starting to go back to the start, work out how my thoughts worked, work out how they were creating my emotions, how I was creating this anxiety. And what I did, I created a framework and kind of cured myself. That led on to me thinking, hang on a minute, other people should benefit from this, and the Wellbeing Whiz was born. I set up as a coach, helping people manage their anxiety and helping them live a better life, as I say. The Omnicast every week is about sharing tips about this, interviewing other people about their anxiety, me talking about ways to understand anxiety and how to cure it, and essentially just a place where you can learn more about anxiety itself and sort of sharing a lot of people's experience with it. Okay, welcome to the Wellbeing Whiz Omnicast episode 16. I'm delighted to have a superb special guest today. She's a businesswoman, she's a mother, she's an expert in marketing, and she's a really good friend of mine. Her name is Jade McCarthy. Hi, Jade, how are you?
Hi, Bevan. Hi, thank you.
Did I encompass all your things there in one go? I tried to sort of sum you up.
Oh, well, I wondered who you were talking about, to be honest. I was like, oh, she sounds nice.
You were sat there, oh, where is she?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Who's coming?
No, you're a legend. Anyway, so you're obviously on the podcast today. You know what the podcast is about. You sort of watched it before, listened to it before. Thank you very much. It's about anxiety and it's about how people deal with anxiety. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll also talk about sort of what you do and how you sort of, because you're very inspirational, how you can inspire others, people who are listening to you, if that's all right.
I'll try.
I
will try.
Okay, so have you suffered from anxiety in the past? Is it something that you've had to face, something you've had to deal with?
Yeah, definitely. I think preparing for the podcast, I started to think back to, I know that I've experienced it myself, but the first time I properly encountered it was probably about the age of 6. And it was actually because my mum suffered really badly with panic attacks. I think I was about 6 because I was figuring it out. So I just remember not being old enough to understand what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was frightening. She used to think that she was dying. And it's one particular event that stands out in my mind, that we were in this supermarket and she had this panic attack, and it was scary, but I was also a bit embarrassed because I didn't know what was happening, and there was everyone running to help. And I kind of remember that she had a hard time with it and had a hard time getting help with it, was often fobbed off, because we're talking like 30 years ago now.
No.
She was fobbed off. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll put it off your flow then.
She was fobbed off with breathing into brown paper bag. And I just remember her telling us that all the time. That's what the doctors used to say. You need to
breathe into a. I suppose I can understand, because it would sort of control your breathing, but that's a very old-fashioned kind of way of looking at it.
Very old-fashioned, and I think that's kind of just shows you how times have changed in quite a small frame of time frame. They have changed in 30 years. How we are open about it, how it's, we've all got knowledge of it now. But so that was probably when I first was aware of what anxiety was, but I didn't know that's what it was.
Panic attacks are the thing that's what started me, actually. I started my anxiety with panic attacks. It's that feeling of when you don't know what they are. You do think you're dying. You do think you're going crazy. You do think, because, and I've discussed it loads of times on here, and I'll discuss it again, but it's that fight or flight response that your body's trying to deal with. You're scared, but there's nowhere to sort of let off the valve and let you go. And you just end up sort of falling apart. And it was in supermarkets for me as well. Like I've told you before, I ended up building a fort once in a supermarket because I was that scared. Yeah, for some reason, supermarkets trigger people a lot.
And I can picture it now. I can picture the exact aisle we were in. And she used to have a lot, but for some reason that one sticks in my mind. And she's luckily okay now. And I don't know don't know what it was that actually cleared her up, because I was too young to probably understand, but that was when I first ever had an experience with it, although it wasn't mine, obviously.
But that can
Yeah.
stay with you, and it kind of like, it's a bit like a lot of people suffer from the fear of the fear almost. That would have triggered something subconsciously in you, thinking this is a possibility in life. People have these things, especially if they're so close to you as well. It's like, oh, is it in the family? That starts the kind of the thoughts, if you like, which my favorite topic. We'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, it starts that kind of fear of fear. And at a very young age, 6, you're very impressionable. Things stick with you then and go into your subconscious very quickly. So I can see how it would like stay with you.
Yeah. And then I've not necessarily always suffered with anxiety. I seem to be triggered by things that happen, or I've only really ever had like 3 major experiences where it's affected me to a point of, having to get help. And the first time I didn't even know that's what it was. So I was quite young when I had my son. So I was 23. So at the time I was probably about 25. And I just started to feel really worried and panicked, and I didn't want to go to work, and I didn't want to leave him. And it was weird. And I knew I didn't feel right, but didn't know what it was. When I went to the doctors, so I think part of it, I was brave to go to the doctors because I was like, I don't know what this is. Why do I feel like?
Yeah, a lot of people just either ignore it or don't do anything about it or sit and wallow in it. Or that's a really good step. That, so well done, you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think maybe because I saw my mum suffer for so long, I was like, I don't know. There was just something that made me need to go and get help.
Well, I'm not going that far, kind of thing. I'm going to nip it in the bud early doors or whatever.
And the doctor said to me, I think you're suffering with anxiety, and I think it's separation anxiety from your baby.
That's so sweet, isn't it? Like,
then we've made up for it in lockdown. Don't you worry. Made up that time. Oh dear. But yeah, so, and I think because I was quite young, I'd gone straight back to work full time, and I think it I moved house and there was lots of things happening. I think 2 years later it hit me, and I was like, no, I need to be with him. So from that, I reduced my hours down. Lee changed his hours around so that I could be part-time, and it was really positive in the end. So I did have more time at home with him, and yeah, like I say, we've made up for that in lockdown.
I think everyone has, haven't they? Really, it's been nice.
13 now. I'm not sure separation anxiety would quite be.
No, sometimes I get anxious not to be separated from my 13-year-old.
Yeah, I think we need a break. Yeah. And then, so that was kind of the first time that it got to the point where I felt like I needed to do something about it. And then the second time was the worst time, definitely. So there was quite a big, I don't know how to describe it, but like a big thing that happened in the family, particularly to me, that just completely triggered this. I can only describe it as like a breakdown, really, because I literally felt heartbroken. I was panicky. I was just a mess. And I think then I was about 31. So this is about 5 years ago. So it was, 5-year periods seem to be the thing every 5 years.
Funny, it seems to fade and come back as well with people. Yeah. You can defeat it is the wrong word, but you can kind of push it away for a certain period of time. And then it seems to come back tenfold, like a lot stronger with new tricks, if you like, to try and get around the things you've solved already. This is the thing I keep finding when it was like, oh, it's back. And now it's got a new set of weapons that can damage me in a different way. Definitely. And trauma's the biggest, like a traumatic experience. I'm not talking like, anything at all that sort of gets into your head subconsciously can trigger them and those sort of anxiety feelings, because it's like a big happening. Then you start questioning all the things you believe to be true, all the things you believe, like your safety, your happiness, whatever it is, and it sort of undermines your thinking, and then that starts the process.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely did that. And that is, I think there was an element of depression in there as well. I think I was suffering, just across the board, really. And I actually took time out of work for about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It got to the point where I couldn't go to work. So again, I went and got help at the doctors. And And I've had a really good doctor. Every time I've had any issues with this, my doctors are really, really on it. So I got referred for counselling, and I went to counselling for, what had happened. And at the same time, I actually took up yoga, which I'd never done before. And honestly, I loved it. I've never,
It's
and
so
I'm not sure if it was the counselling or the yoga that actually got me to a point of feeling better, because I looked forward to it. It was like an hour of peace away from my head. It was the one night a week I would get a decent night's sleep. It was just a complete new way of kind of thinking and breathing and acting. And it just was
it's doing
amazing.
all the things, like yoga's doing all the things I would tell you to do to get over. It's like you're exercising, so you're creating that kind of serotonin kind of boost. You're being still, you're being in the moment, you're not looking forward, back, around, anywhere else. So it is so good. I should try it, but I'm like a baby giraffe. I'd end up falling over.
Oh, you wouldn't. Everyone's like, oh, I'm not bendy enough, but that's the whole point. You go to become bendy.
You become more bendy over time,
That's
pliable.
Yeah. But it really, I think that was my first experience with meditation as well. I'd not really done anything like that. So that opened me up to, I think it was the Headspace app that I got at the time that was quite helpful. I'm sure you
good. Yeah.
have used that. And I used to have one night where I would go to yoga and I'd come back and I'd have a really nice bath with the meditation app, and I would literally go straight to bed so that I just didn't come out of this zone of clear space.
Zen zone.
The zone. Yeah, it was brilliant. So that was a massive help. And then it's really funny because what happened, it kind of made me open my head into being like aware of myself and myself kind of care, I guess, and how I really needed to start thinking about looking after myself and putting myself first sometimes as well, because we don't do that. And it started to make
when you're a parent or a partner or whatever, you always seem to take a back seat to all the rest of them. And a very wise man, my friend Phil, always tells me that, why did I tell you to put your mask on the plane first? When the oxygen masks come down, they say, put yours on before you help others. And he said, that's a great metaphor for life. If you're not looking after yourself, how can you help others? And it's such a lovely little, I love it. I don't know where he got it from. He probably got it from someone else, but it was him who first said it to me. And I'm like, oh, like Phil says all the time.
Exactly. And that was exactly it. So it started making me look at every situation I was in differently, and things that weren't serving me how I wanted them to. And it actually led to separation from my husband at the time, which is a happy ending. We're fine, we're good friends, and but it kind of just made me question it. And I thought, this has been a situation that was quite draining to me, and that didn't seem right. I thought I can't be feeling drained. So it gave me the confidence and the kind of self-worth to move on from that situation. And it's the best thing that we could have done. We're in a good place with the children and stuff now. I got a new job. I changed how I looked after my health. I was really fit, and then lockdown happened. But I'd got myself into this really good frame of mind. So from going from an awful place really catapulted me into looking at everything differently and making huge changes that had a positive outcome.
It's brilliant because you've done what I would suggest to people who come to me and talk about it, but you've done it on your own, which is incredible. It's like,
maybe you time traveled and came and told me.
Maybe I did. I'm good at that. I'll do that every now and again.
Maybe we were having this conversation. You were like, I'm just going to go and sort this out, and I'll be back.
I'm back in the room. You've done that kind of like, you've chosen a sort of a path of exercise and stillness and all these kind of, but of course you've got things like the Headspace app, which again tells you to concentrate on this, concentrate on that. And you've sort of self-cured, which I think is really cool. Like I'm quite impressed. We can't have less of you around. I can't not have loads of you, otherwise I'm out of a job.
Yeah, but then I had another setback.
Right, okay, sorry. I've cut in there.
teach me how to not go back into this.
Oh,
So,
go on, we'll do that.
and then the more recently, I think everybody's kind of probably had a hit from the pandemic. So I was just feeling really stuck in my job. It was quite a toxic situation at the time. I was unhappy, and it just hit me again out of nowhere. And I ended up taking time off work. And it was then that I started to think, I think similar to the separation anxiety I'd had, but I was feeling like I've got this time at home with the kids now, and it's really making me realize how much I've missed out on. And I don't want to work 9 to 5 and be out of the house all the time. You know, I learned so much about them, as I'm sure you have been at home with your
So many people
children.
have learned so much about themselves in this time, and
Yeah,
it's been an awful, awful thing to happen to the world. But so many interesting insights into yourself have come out of it. The world's almost waking up to itself, or people are waking up to themselves and what they really need and what's important and what's not important. But yeah, it's been a double-edged sword in that way, I would say.
100%, 100%. So that was kind of my catapult into starting this business, because I thought, right, I've got to get out of a situation I'm not happy with work. Again, I spoke to my doctor, who was brilliant, and just gave me the kind of reassurance that, you know, it's okay to walk away from something that's not right for you. So in the middle of a pandemic, when everyone was stressed about losing a job, I thought, I know,
I know what I'll do.
hand my notice in and set my own business up, because what else would you do? You know.
Awesome. That's inspirational in itself. It's like, you know what? You've backed yourself, and you've got a set of skills that people want. You know what you want from life, and that's a work-life balance and something you can be proud of. And all these things that you get from running your own business, you don't get from working for someone else. Yeah, right. There's a bucket full of stressful stuff that comes with it. But I tell you what, you being the one that has control of your destiny, for me, is the biggest thing when you're anxious. My worst thing's been out of control. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
teaching myself that I can't control everything. But
Yeah.
in this circumstance where I'm in control of my own business and creating my own business and create my own money, and I am in control of that. I'm not waiting on 10 other people to make it happen. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you did the right thing, definitely. Of course you did.
Of course I did. I'm here. And I think that's my thing now. I recognize what causes these kind of mini breakdowns that I've had of anxiety, these bouts of anxiety, periods I've had. And I can see them coming now. And I know that I've got to make the decisions before it gets out of control to walk away from something that's not right, or confront it, or change it, or, and be proactive with that, rather than keeping going and keeping going and keeping going to a point of combusting. And
Are you sure you've not done my course? This is literally like, I have met back in time. I've definitely.
In a short space of time, we've known each other. Clearly, you're rubbing off on me.
There's some sort of subconscious thing going on. But no, it's that you become aware of your thought patterns, your triggers, your things. You've accepted that you're the one that creates them from the outside situations, then stimulate these things happening, and you've made changes. And that is exactly what I coach people to do from start to finish.
Well, if you need some help.
Yeah, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
But it's brilliant, because it's funny how, one person can, like, I discovered it myself, and you've discovered it yourself, and not put labels onto what you've done. But
Yeah.
it's that exact same thing. It's that awareness of where you're going, which I think in the middle of anxiety and panic, it's so hard to separate what's you and what's not you, what's helpful thoughts and what aren't. It's almost like being in a washing machine, being spun around, and it's that stopping and going, right, let's myself aware of what I'm thinking, what it's making me feel, what it's making me do. And then a lot of people hide behind the fact that anxiety is this monster that's creeping up on you and trying to kill you and all that. It's all coming from inside you, I'm afraid. And when you accept that and realize that, then you can change it. You've started it, you can finish it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've come to realize that now. And I think that comes from being able to look after yourself as well, and, kind of realizing not to just rely on other people. And yes, things have happened, or other people have done things that have then triggered this. but I can't do anything about that, but I can do something about how I react to it or how I let it affect me. And that, yeah, but that's not been an easy thing to realize,
And
because it's very easy to just be angry and reflect and not reflect, which like
push it away and deflect. And it's like, it depends which, and this again, it's funny, it's like you've watched some of my courses as well. It's that looking back at the things that have happened to you, and looking at them in a different way, or looking, because you could look at them and go, that made me the person I am, and like go down one road, or you could look at it and go, do you know what, that happened and I chose to think this about myself and move on.
Yeah.
And it's that looking back and time traveling, if you like, and deciding that doesn't define you. It's how I choose to react to it that defines me, and what I choose to make it mean, and what glasses I'm looking through when I look at it. You know, it's a bit like the weight thing I always talk about. When people weigh themselves, they can look on a set of scales and say, I'm X amount of stone, and they can look at that. It's just a number.
Yeah.
That number, and that number is either a bad or positive thought. You know, I'm 11 stone, that's awful, I should be 10, or I'm 11 stone, I was 12 last week, that's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just looking at it a different way.
I mean, it's taken, well, all those years to kind of get to the point. And I think that has been since working for myself and having that headspace to work this stuff out, that it's how you see things and it's how you interpret situations. And I have definitely in the last 6 months tried to flip everything. So I think I've told you every week we do like a room on Clubhouse, sorry, where we talk about the wins for the week, and you concentrate on, even if it's the tiniest thing that's gone right, celebrate it rather than thinking about what you haven't done or what you did wrong, because it's so easy to beat yourself up about these things. But it's taken a long time to change the way I think about that. But
and it's a slow, like I say, it's a slow process, but it's like those little steps forward, like say, celebrating little wins, not looking at everything as a failure, looking at it as a lesson. What did you learn from it? Not looking at everything in a negative way. And like you say, you could have had 10 losses in a week, but one win could change everything. It's all like sliding doors moments, isn't it? One little positivity could change the whole lot and cause this massive cascade of positivity. And you're totally right. And Clubhouse is something you've introduced me to. I love it.
I know.
Get on it.
I'm always on it.
Yeah, we'll be doing classes to wean people off it soon, I think.
We will. Come talk to us about your Clubhouse addiction. I'll be first in line.
So when you talk about anxiety, did you suffer from any sort of physical side effects of it? Because that was a huge problem with me. I don't know if you had anything like that.
I think the worst has probably been this last bout of anxiety. And I think being stuck in the house meant that I didn't get the exercise I needed. I've definitely put on weight, and I believe that that's probably a catalyst. I didn't prioritize exercise or eating well. We were all at home. It was just easier for us all to just eat the same thing. And well, you know what it's like. You're at home, you're constantly like, oh, I'll just have a bit of that. Oh, we'll make some buns, we'll do this. And I love food. So I think that's probably the biggest physical side effect I've had. Although another thing, when this was really getting bad this time, I had this awful and I kept saying, I feel like I've just got this ache here. And I constantly felt like there was something just like pulling inside. And I was trying to explain it to, it was my auntie actually, and I was like, I've just constantly got this like ache, and it's like a heartache. And it wasn't that I was heartbroken or anything, but when people talk about feeling heartbroken, that is what it feels like it was full.
And it's a mixture of your heart working faster because your adrenaline's higher because you're anxious and stressed. And also when you're anxious, you tend to breathe a lot shallower.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like muscle tension going. I mean, imagine it's all from this fight or flight response. Like I say, imagine if you were being chased by a tiger, your heart's got to work faster to get your muscles ready, and you're breathing shallower like you're running. So that's happening all day. So it's like you're running all day. So this is why people who are anxious are always tired, because they're almost running a marathon all day rather than just sitting still.
But I wasn't burning the calories that I was eating. Like, that's not
because you're not actually letting off that valve.
Yeah.
Your body's getting ready to run, but you're never actually running. You're in this almost frozen state of like, ready to go. And then this is why exercise helps with anxiety, because you go out, you burn off
That
that.
makes absolute sense. Yeah.
And you go off and burn it off straight away. Your body wants to run or fight. So you're just feeding it, going, right, let's go and run, bosh. And then it's done. And the more you do that, the more exercise you do, the less adrenaline you've got building up. But yeah, that would be it. And it's weird. Symptoms were my kind of very favorite, not favorite, speciality, if you like. I had everything from like, my skin felt like I had sunburn, like even though I didn't have a thing on me, like I couldn't touch it with a t-shirt. I was like, ugh, and just the weirdest. And when I'd managed to get over one, I'd get another symptom. Like I'd defeat one and go, well, I'll look it up, and I know that's anxiety. And it almost, this is why people like personify anxiety. They kind of give it a personality, because it's like sneaky. It's like, oh, right, you found out that one's I'll give you this then instead. And then I'd have like, I don't know, tingling like toes and fingers. And there's always another illness that's associated with these things. You start looking it up.
Yeah, and then that kind of feeds you.
That makes you more anxious, and it's like a cycle. So yeah, I always ask people about the symptoms and the side effects they have, because I think more symptoms that people know about, the more they can put down to anxiety and know it's being created by that, not having a heart attack or a stroke or whatever you conjure up in your mind.
Obviously, just going back to when my mum was suffering, I know she used to say she felt like she was having a heart attack, and that's why she felt like she was dying. So I know that although it's in your brain, sorry, the dog's barking.
All right, mine will be at it in a minute.
It is a very physical feeling as well. But it's just,
this is what's it's scary about it. You're constantly thinking about the worst, and your body's reacting, giving you symptoms of the worst. So you never get out of it. And it's about separating those things up, starting to understand the awareness comes in again, starting to understand the metaphysical, I hate that word, side of it, where my body's doing this because of this, this, and this. That's where the rational head kicks in and goes, oh, right, this is why I'm feeling lightheaded. This is why I'm feeling dizzy. This is why I'm feeling sick. So yeah, and so I always ask about it. That's all. So anyway, let's move on. It sounds like we've delved into anxiety too much. Let's talk about the Jade of now, and because it's a good story. I like this. So what do you do? Tell me about what you do and what you do for a living, and how you kind of. I'm talking to people who help clients, and I think you help clients a lot. You helped me yesterday. I had the best day yesterday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what's the secret of Jade's business?
So what I do is I specialize in digital marketing and design as well. So I am quite creative, but I also like the analytics of digital marketing. So I've combined the two to offer services to small businesses and entrepreneurs. And this had been something I'd wanted to do for years and years and years, right from my first marketing position that I had. I always wanted to teach small businesses how to do marketing correctly, or, show them that it doesn't have to cost a fortune. So that's kind of where it came from, and that's what I do. And then, in terms of helping people, it's teaching people how to, sell themselves and their businesses correctly, because I struggle to do that about myself, and I'm, a marketer. So I get that people find that difficult, and it's kind of pulling out the nuggets that you might not know about yourself and showing the rest of the world. So if you're the brand, then obviously I'll do that about you, but whether you had your own company that we were looking to market, it's finding those little, niches in those brands that I can then tell the world about, that you might be too, consumed by the actual day-to-day of the business that you forget or take it for granted. So yeah, that's what
that's the bit because full disclosure, we worked together, and you just finished my branding yesterday, which I'm very excited about. What I loved about it was like you say, I am the brand, which is a bit of a weird, uncomfortable position to be in. But then at the same time, you made it very exciting for me to be the brand. Like all of a sudden I was like, yeah, this is fab. It's all about me. And 2 hours talking about me, yay. And but it's given me that kind of confidence about what I do. I felt like I was hiding, and now I'm not. And yeah, it's made, it's not just a logo, it's not just a font, it's not just a color, it's that you get that confidence behind your business to say, yeah, this is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
And you're proud of what it is. And it's like, if you do it yourself, you just know it's subpar. I knew what I'd done was subpar before.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's why working with people who work for themselves, are their own brand, or have a very small company is so good, because that's where you can make the biggest difference. Because like you say, well, I know myself, I've just started my own business, and to start with, you're nervous about, coming out as this, I'm a new business. That is nerve-wracking. And just giving people that confidence to be able to do that and be confident with what they're selling, or whatever the service might be that they're providing, is what I'm all about. And I think, yeah, yesterday was amazing, and you see it as, oh, we're 2 hours talking about me, but what we did was we've spent however many hours in the past few weeks going over those things for me to completely understand who you are, what it is you do, and then be able to put that into a brand and put it out there in a format that you're happy with and that reflects you, because that's what it's got to do. It's no good me just coming up with something that looks nice. It's got to feel like you.
And it's like, it's funny, I was joking yesterday, it feels like therapy of some kind, but it's that kind of giving the people in business the confidence to show up every day. Because if you're not showing up, and it's like in life, business and life are two very similar things. If you're not showing up, you're not going to get the results you want. If you're not, positively emotional about what you're giving out there, you're not going to get positive results. Your actions aren't going to be positive. You're not going to get what you set out for. And now all of a sudden, with that, just that little bit of injection of me into the brand, I've got an emotional attachment to it. So my actions are going to be positive and my results are going to be positive. And it's funny, like how I'm comparing marketing to well-being, but there is that kind of link where I now feel great about my business.
Yes.
Whereas before I was like, oh yeah, and I can help people, and I will help people, and I do help people. I'm so very proud of what I do. So why aren't I screaming that from the rooftops and showing that in what I'm telling people? And I wasn't doing that, and now I am. So
yeah, and now you are. Yeah, so I'm glad that's how you feel, because that is exactly why I wanted to start this business up.
And I can't recommend you highly enough how quickly it went from understanding me to me getting something back. Someone's just ringing me. Oh, I'm very popular. To me getting something back that was just perfect, was so quick, and you understood my business so quickly. And yeah, I'd say, but we'll give out your contact details at the end to make sure people can get hold of you and feel great about their business as well.
A little there.
Talking about your business, is there like one common myth about digital marketing in general, you'd like to dispel right here, right now, for the world?
Right now. Yeah, well, again, this is why I set up the business. I think everybody has this perception that it has to be expensive. You have to spend a fortune to get good results, and that's not true. So in particular, if we're talking about advertising, digital advertising, that doesn't have to be a massive budget if you do it well. And that's kind of what I wanted to show people that they can do. So I've had over 10 years experience in marketing for big companies with massive budgets, all different audience types. And I want to show people how that I've learned there, you can do, and you can do it, but you don't have to spend the millions that the big companies are doing. Because I think that is, a lot of people think, oh, I can't do that because I don't know how to do it, or it's going to be too expensive for me. But that's not true. Like, it is there for all of us. And especially now when everything is currently online, there's no shopping, there's no, we're having to do even these online, your coaching courses, everything is online. So people are so much more on there. There's no reason to not be doing it. So I guess that's my myth. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Like these sort of Mythbusters, we have got the thing now, busted, bang, right across the screen like that. But that's what I found. Like, people think they can cut corners as well. People think they can. I did. I'll design a logo on Canva, end up looking like a spa. I'll make my own whatever. I'll make my own website and all this. And yeah, you get, but it's not reflecting you. And there's no. there's no style in it. There's no consistency. There's no, branding, if you like, for want of a better word, running across everything. It's just me chucking things at a wall and hoping some of it sticks and works. And it's
Yeah,
not.
well, I think when you are the product, you are the service, it's hard to envisage what that brand should look like.
Mm.
And you think, do I need one? Because it's just me. And you do. Everybody needs like a personal brand. It doesn't necessarily always mean a logo or colours, but there's got to be some kind of consistency, whether that's in the way you do things, the way you say things, the way you write things. It is important.
I think you taught me about a brand voice. Like I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
Like
And
how I'm going to be perceived by how my brand speaks to the people out there. And I do, because I'm just me. But
yeah,
there's got to be that kind of consistency in message or consistency in tone, or
yeah,
that blew my mind. That was one thing that, because I just thought, well, that's just me. It's always going to sound like me. But no, because some days I'm fed up. Newsflash, even the well-being Whizz is fed up. But yeah, some days I'm annoyed with stuff. Some days, but you don't want that to, if I was going to reflect truly me, you don't want sort of posting how annoyed I am with something.
As long as you do it in a Bevan way, that's
Bevan
fine.
way. Oh, it's always done in a Bevan way. I'd say that. So that's cool. I like that. And so this marketing world, is there the three people who have like, let's say two, because three is quite a lot. Two people who have like helped your career to date, like who have influenced you, either people you know personally, people you look up to in the sort of marketing world, or even random TV celebrities.
Obviously you.
Oh, obviously.
But you could just be the third if we're only going for two now.
Go on then.
I think I'm going to give credit to my first managing director, who completely took a chance on me in a marketing role that I'd never done before. And he was such a great guy. Like, he was just brilliant. And this was at Fretwell Downing, so his name is Nick.
Hi, Nick.
And I remember him interviewing me, and I was thinking, I've not really done this before, but it was more of like an admin marketing assistant role. So, I got some experience, and I knew I could do it. I knew the job role I could do, and he just fully took a chance on me. And I ended up being the marketing and communications manager there in the end. And he supported me through that whole time, training, any suggestions I made on what we should be doing on a marketing front. He was like, yep, go for it. And I just completely 100% had his backing. And that was brilliant, because you don't always get that from, especially
early in your career. It makes a huge difference knowing someone sort of believes you to that extent. A, to employ you. I mean, I've had a very similar managing director like that. And A, to employ you, and then B, to see you through your career there. That's nice, yeah. And it gives you that, you can always hark back to that and go, yeah, someone trusted me, so
yeah.
He
was just a good guy as well. Like, from, on a personal front, if I ever had any issues with the kids, he was always very give and take. He would, support with everything. So he was the best person for me to start out working for in this career, because he just gave me the confidence and the tools I needed to learn everything. So he was great. And then the other one, I'm struggling now because I've got like a few. I've got three.
Oh, you can have three. You can have three. Honestly, have three. Have three. I cut you off in your prime. I'm the fourth now, then, yeah.
You're the fourth. Well, actually, right. So my family, I was just going to say, because I've not got a massive family, but right from my granddad, from when I was little, he would always like tell me I could do whatever I wanted. You can always, whatever you want to be, you can be it, kind of thing. So, and they've all got that mentality. So I'm really close to my nan, my mum and dad. Everything I do, they're supportive. And then my auntie and uncle have actually physically like helped me childcare wise. They don't have children, so they're like another set of grandparents to my kids.
That's brilliant.
So they do like the childcare for me. My mum and dad still work, so I find it harder. But so they've just been a really good, what's the word, support network for me to be able to even get to this point in my career. And then the other one is probably a bit weird, but my ex-husband. So I've told you, me and Lee are still good friends, but when we were together, he was always quite happy for me to be the one. I think this is probably part of the problem, he was happy for me to be the one that went off and propelled her career, which was great for me because that's what I wanted to do. He isn't that way inclined, so he was always at home with the kids, and even now, like, so during the pandemic, he was here every day, walking 5 miles a day to come and help homeschool so that I could get on with work because he was on furlough. Just, having someone like that, even though we're not together anymore, has been, I can't imagine if we weren't okay with each other, because he manages, to help me with the kids, or he understands that today I'm doing this for 2 hours, and he was like, well, you can bring them here, and so we have a really good relationship that
That's great. That's very impressive. Top fella.
He is a top fella when it comes to things like that, just not as a husband, But he's a great dad, and he's a good support to me, so I think I'm just lucky that I've had good people around me, really.
That's cool. I like that. No, and it's nice that you've got that kind of partnership still. Yeah, that's great. And it's
Tell him, he'll be getting all,
Yeah, well, we edit this out so he doesn't get a big head.
We'll not let him know.
So I'll edit it. It says, so you've got 2 people that you. Nah, good on him. So I'm a big reader. I like to learn. I have a day in my business every Friday, Learn Something Friday, and I do courses on that day or read.
Yeah.
One book that you'd suggest that people who are listening or watching should read to make their life better or make their career better, or what's the J? It doesn't even have to be a it can be a fiction book, it can be anything at all.
I know. I've got quite a few here that are like, I'm a bit obsessed with the moon. So
let's have them all. We had loads with Laura last week. I had a library full last week. So
I keep them on my desk for this reason. But in terms of what you've just said, and I think the periods of time that I've gone through, where I've been feeling anxious, the best book that I've read, you might have heard of it, is the Good Vibes, Good Life.
Oh yes, I've heard of that.
King. Really good, because he talks about.
What's that by again? I forget. Just in case people want to read it. Who's it by? It's backwards.
Vex King?
Vex King.
Yeah, I think he's from London. I'm sure he's British. But he talks about, he's come from quite a hard life, and it made him grow up quite angry, and he manages to switch that around into having these good positive vibes, and he's specific in the chapters on how to deal with certain situations. So it's things from getting away from toxic workplaces, I think, is one chapter, or if you've not got a supportive partner, or so it's a really good book because you'll find your own situation in there.
Yeah. And you can always flick through and go, aha, I need this section today or this month.
It goes from, like, these are the situations that you might find yourself in, but then talking about how to manifest just your way out of it and how to then put those manifestations into action. It's a really good book, and quite like new, so I feel like it's relevant now, like it talks about social media, and so I found that really, really good. So that's from a mental health point of view, but then this is my all-time favorite book, and I tell everyone about it.
Go on then.
So this is Living, Kirsty Gallagher.
Kirsty Gallagher, Lunar Living, right?
Yeah.
Not the Kirsty Gallagher from the telly.
No, that would be weird, wouldn't it?
It's the other Kirsty Gallagher.
Yeah, there's the moon lady Kirsty Gallagher. But when I was kind of all this time of feeling a little bit ropey, I got quite into the spiritual side of things and crystals, and the moon just fascinates me. And I'd started like looking into it a little bit, and then I found that book on Amazon. I thought, I'm going to get it. And it just tells you about like the new moon, the full moon, and in each sign, what that means. It's just, if you want to know about that kind of thing, it's a really good one to start with. So I'll often refer back to it and be like, right, what's the moon up to today? When I'm feeling.
What's the moon up to today?
today. So yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, that one's a really good one for the basics. Yeah.
So because that's the thing with the moon, like we seem to have forgotten that it plays a huge part in everything on the planet. Like, I know I probably lighted your fire right now. I'm lighting a fire under you to get you going, but it's like, you know, cycles of the ocean and the sort of like the seasons and all this. And we forget. So because we've got calendars on our wall now, we don't go with a lunar calendar as such. We go with kind of like, you know, is it a Gregorian calendar? I think it's called. But yeah, we don't really go with the moon. We probably should. People who live by the moon, you know, who live out in the God knows where, growing crops and all that. It all depends on the seasons for them and the moon. So yeah, people forget their contact with it.
I've got one that I need to put up in here. It's massive. I've not found a frame big enough. It's beautiful. I'll send you a picture of it. But it's even got on there like what kind of plants you should plant at a certain point of the moon. And I'm like, my God, this just blows my mind. But I think it started a while ago when we were on holiday. We always go up to Northumberland for holidays. And we were checking the tide times so that we could go onto the beach and stuff. And I didn't know that the moon did that. I didn't know that the moon controlled the tide. And I was like, no way. And just from then, it's just fascinated me. And obviously, it makes sense that if it can move a whole ocean, it's going to affect us because
we're made of quite a lot of water as well. People forget that.
Exactly.
It's going to affect us in some way. If it's having such a massive pull on the ocean, then surely it has to have some kind of effect on us because it's being able to pull that massive amount of water. You know, it's going to have effect on something we do. Or anyway, I could talk about it for hours, mate, and get proper into it.
Women particularly, we have our menstrual cycles. We have as many of those as the moon has cycles. So, you know, the moon is...
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And you'll find a lot of women have cycles with the moon. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Every day's a moon school day.
So when you talk about the moon, you have to say she because it is thought that it's a feminine.
Oh, I will do. From now, I won't misgender the moon from here on in.
What are you up to today? Because I'm feeling a little bit dodgy. Yeah.
But I don't want to get told off. I don't want to get cancelled for misgendering the moon.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Imagine, get all my lovely new branding and then get cancelled for misgendering the moon. That'd be so mean. So on brand.
Oh dear.
Okay, so what do you do every day? What does Jade do? Get up in the morning and think, I better do this today because it helps my well-being. Have you got one thing that you'd say to people, this is what I do?
Well, I have a coffee every day, get up and I have to have
key to a good day.
Not sure how good that is for well-being, but it's good for me. It's my little moment of, you know, I do like to have a coffee. But one thing I do, and I don't think many people know this, but
exclusive,
I sit in silence for like at least 10 minutes. So I might be doing something else. I might be reading or I might, you know, but often I try and just sit. I know that sounds weird, but...
No, not at all. It sounds very... I'm just trying to work out how I would sit in silence.
Should we do it now?
Best podcast ever.
Because I think my mind and everything is just on the go all day, constantly on the go. So when the kids have gone to bed, or even if I go to bed, I try and just sit there and chill. Or if I'm in the bath, and you know, just to have a bit of silence, because I think it's so, especially now while we're all at home, we're all in need of a little bit of a mental silence as well as
it's finding silence in my house when a 13-year-old's playing Fortnite. That's difficult.
Oh, well, do you know what I've done? I've started borrowing my 13-year-old's headphones to drown him out rather than
the noise cancelling.
Yeah, noise cancelling.
There's the answer. Cool. All right, this is time traveling. Now you like my time traveling thing, so this is a good one for you. If I could build my time machine, which I do quite frequently, what would you say to the 20-year-old Jade? What would you say? Here's a piece of advice for life.
I think I would tell her to just keep going. Keep going when you're feeling like you shouldn't, or like that you're not strong enough, not that you shouldn't, because there's been I've had a lot of hurdles in the last 16 years from being 20 that have, I think, knocked my confidence. At 20, I was confident. I was confident of my opinions. I was confident of my abilities. And I feel a lot different now. And that's that's been, you know, a lot of different things that have happened, people I've come across. I was thinking about this, and I'm lucky in that I've got really supportive family, I told you, and really strong women in my family. So my mum's strong, my auntie's strong, my nan, oh my God, my nan is strong. And all the men in my family are very accepting of that. And, you know, my granddad was very much, you know, powered my nan to be this strong woman. My uncle is really supportive of my auntie. My dad is obviously used to my mum and me. So I thought the world was like that. So when I came out into the working world and there was all these men that didn't think of
Men.
women that way, it shocked me. And I've experienced a lot of men who think differently to that. And I think it's such a shame, because I'm lucky that the men in my family aren't like that. And, you know, even my husband isn't like that. And he's very kind of accepting. My friends' husbands aren't like that. So I've come across a lot of people who have I've had comments like, oh, she's just a young girl. And that, you know,
Wow.
to rile me up. It used to get me like, what does that mean? And then, you know, as I got a little bit older and I saw, like, in a more corporate world, the way men would treat younger women, you know, because I was in a role that was quite high up within the company, but I wasn't thought of on the same level as other people, in because of my age and because I was female. There was no female directors, and I've just come across a lot of, you know, those kind of comments, and I think over time it's knocked my confidence a little bit. I'm picking that back up now, but I think I would say keep going and keep your opinion strong, because you're right. You are right.
Yeah.
So
And
keep.
you will be proved to be right later on, kind of by the whole world almost.
World is like that. Doesn't mean you have to accept it, because it's not. So I think that would be my bit of advice.
That's fab. I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
And I've got my two favorite questions left. This is my favorite part of my podcast. These are my two fun favorite.
Right, okay.
What is the one question you'd have liked me to ask you that I didn't?
The one question.
Oh, as many as you like. We've got all day.
I think it's a bit of a fun one. What's the most random situation you've ever found yourself in?
Oh,
You can't guess what it would be.
oh, crikey. The most random situation you've ever found yourself in.
There's been a few, but this one sticks in
This
my
is
mind.
the most random. Oh, crikey. It's been a few, and it's the most random. Oh, good Lord. I don't know. I'd have trained to Siberia with Bob Monkhouse learning to juggle. I don't know. That's the best I've got.
Yeah, I mean, you take it. Yeah, okay. Maybe I can't be
That's random.
But I once found myself a little bit tiddly in the gardens of Buckingham Palace.
No, that's cool.
Yes.
Actually, like, how?
Actually in the gardens of Buckingham Palace. And then I think the moment of realization was after, and I was sat on is it the Victoria Monument, or think like
Yeah.
on that roundabout, looking at Buckingham Palace, lost my friends. I was like, what's happening? How am I looking at Buckingham Palace and not really know? Like, I'd had a bit too much champagne.
And how did you get into Buckingham Palace then?
Well, I don't think I'm allowed back in. No, I'm joking. So when I worked at Fretwell Downing, we had a royal warrant. So we were invited to the Queen's coronation. So it was a coronation festival.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody at the royal warrant could go and have like a stand in the gardens, and there was Bentley there, and there was all these other people. And then in the evening, there was like a garden party with Catherine Gins, and all the royal family were sat behind us. So we were drinking champagne in the garden, and the Queen was sat like literally here. It was just the most bizarre situation. But yeah, one of those to tell people I've been drunk in Buckingham Palace. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Oh yeah, I wanted me to ask you that because it's a real name. I was there having a drink by the Bentley guys, and the Queen was right over there.
Yeah. I actually got told off because I went to take a picture of the royal. They were in like the royal stand behind us, and I ran up and I shouted Pippa Middleton, And I shouted, Pippa. And she looked at me and I took a picture. I'm going to send you these pictures to show you. And she looked directly at me and smiled. And then they were like, can you go back to your seat? And I was like, yes, sorry.
But you get thrown out. How dare you take pictures of someone who's nearly related to someone who's nearly the Queen?
Yeah. Well, when we were going, I tell you what, that has been one of the most difficult things to set up as a marketing manager. That whole event, the logistics, getting into Buckingham Palace, getting everybody who was going from our company, like all the passes and checks. Oh God, yeah. It was hard work. Oh yeah, but it was just amazing. We walked in, the stands were beautiful, the gardens are just incredible. There was the Royal Ballet there. It was honestly one of the best experiences. But we were really well treated by our directors, and they just kept bringing bottles of wine, and we were
too well, really.
Yeah. We'd had a hard day at work and we let loose. But yeah, it was good. It was good fun.
She joined in.
She does. Oh, that's what they said to us. There might be some members of the royal family there, but we don't know who. So we're like, oh, okay. And then I think I'd probably gone to the bar and on my way back. And as I was walking, there was like all this kerfuffle. The next thing, the Queen just comes along in a golf cart. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? She just, and then in the evening for the show, there was Camilla, Charles, I don't think Kate was there, but Pippa obviously there, James Middleton. Well, yeah, Zara, there was loads of them there.
I just love the fact the Queen blasts around in a golf cart like some sort of wacky Michael Jackson type character at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah. I just assumed it wasn't real.
Was it like a gold-plated golf cart or just like a standard Common Garden golf cart?
I've got a photo. I'm going to send it. I'm going to find it and show you.
Put it on the old socials there, won't we? Queen in the golf cart. Yeah. Queen after 18 holes. She just pop into the bar.
I've probably got a bottle of champagne somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
dear.
Talking about amazing things, we have our guest chain questions. The previous guest, Laura Brunson, gets to ask you a question. And her question was last week, if she had a magic wand and could wave a magic wand and make one of your dreams come true overnight, what would it be?
Right. Are we talking while we're in the pandemic? Because I'd literally take like the pubs being open or the cinema open.
Yeah, I mean, you can have that. You can have a pandemic and a non-pandemic answer. How about that?
Okay, so just normal life would be my first wish right now. But I was thinking I've not really got a big thing I'd like to do. You know, I've been in Buckingham. No, I'm joking. But I think, so my dream used to be, this is a funny one, and I think I'd still take it. I used to want to be a dancer on Stars in Their Eyes. That was my dream as a little girl. And you know what? I think I'd still go for it. I did. I was obsessed.
Tonight,
I think
Matthew,
I'd still take that.
Be a dancer.
Yeah. But I didn't want to be the person. I just wanted to be one of the backing dancers. That was my dream. So I'll go with that.
That's awesome. That's
that.
actually.
They'd have to bring it back and maybe you could present it.
You know, tonight, Bevan, I want to be Michael Jackson. And here's Jade to dance with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
We're doing it. We're bringing it back.
I'll just go with that. That's the.
I didn't think that would ever be an answer to that question. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it was my childhood dream. We don't grow out of these dreams, do we?
Never give up. You never know.
Never know. I'm first on that list if it gets back on ITV.
When I bring it back, you'll be first invited in.
Yeah.
And so, I've got a special guest next week. You get a chance to ask another question. What would you like to ask them? Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. So I've got a good one actually. So, writing it down one sec. If you could meet one fictional character, who would it be? So I don't mean be a character, I mean meet a fictional character. Who would it be?
And who would yours be, just out of interest? Have you thought?
So then I thought, who would it be? And I actually think it would be Rachel from Friends, because I really need her to sack Ross off, because I feel like he just messes with her head the whole way through Friends. And someone needs to say, he's gaslighting you here, get rid of him. that would be mine.
So you want to meet her to make her life better? That's brilliant.
Yeah, I do.
So
She
if
can do
you
better
pick one
than
fictional
Ross.
character, who would it be? Okay, cool. That's a great question. Well,
Yeah. Who would yours be?
oh, good Lord, I'm on the spot now.
I really wanted to think of a cartoon character, but I couldn't quite.
I think.
I don't know.
Who would I like to meet? Like, I'm a huge fan of Batman, so like I would love to meet like Bruce Wayne and Batman, and then be like, give him a little nod, going, "I know who you are, sunshine.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I know what you get up to on an evening, young man."
Yeah, that's a good one.
So probably Batman, yeah, and then get Bruce Wayne to back my business, maybe.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Do you know what? He probably has some kind of well-being issues as well. I don't think he takes care. He's too busy.
Well, he also, his family
depression.
being murdered in front of him, what turned him into Batman. So yeah, he's got a lot to dig into. That guy.
Help. Yeah.
Spends his nights in latex dress as a bat. It's not a great story.
Yeah, there is some deep-rooted issues there, isn't there, somewhere?
It's an interesting hobby to have. But yeah, so thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed having you on, honestly. And we always have a good laugh when we get together anyway. But you've been really honest, really open, which is lovely. And I hope people take a lot from this. And I thank you so much for coming along. I've really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
How can people get hold of you? Actually, I need to mention that because I forgot. I got so excited last week on the thing with Laura and again this week that I forget where people can get hold of you.
Do you want me to give Laura's details and then mine?
No, I tack Laura's onto the end with some sort of
so I guess on my social media pages, or I've got a website which is gemmarketing.com. But yeah, social media is probably the easiest thing for everybody.
And just that's JEM Marketing, JEM Marketing.com.
Yes.
Perfect. See, I did my job properly this week, whereas last week I had to do what's that film where Matthew Broderick, I had to do that kind of pop up afterwards. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I had to do like an addendum. You still here? Oh, good, because I've got Laura's details.
Amazing. I love that.
So yeah, I had to do that. But this week I remembered. But honestly, thank you so much for coming along, and let's hope people enjoy listening to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.